What is going on, YouTube? So coming back with my final conference preview. I will be doing the Conference USA, a last conference in my Group of 5 conferences as well. So after this, I will be moving into my individual team previews. But talking about the Conference USA, conference with 13 teams, I believe, and then 2 divisions, West and East, and then obviously I'll be covering both divisions. Bottom to top, starting at the bottom, going to the top. This is a conference that's kind of consensus, I'd say 9th best conference in college football. Sun Belt probably being the only one below it. It produced, I believe, 5 bowl teams last year, so less than half the teams making it to a bowl game. And so the conference also struggles out of conference as well. So let's go ahead and move into. I'm going to start with the West. So go ahead and start with that. At number 6, I've got the North Texas Mean Green, team that struggled mightily last year. Had 1 win, and pretty much completely turns over an entire coaching staff. They bring in a new coaching staff, so who knows what's going to happen. They start off the season against in-town rival SMU, and they have Bethune-Cookman after that. So that's 2 wins if they can start good, and that'd be a really good momentum builder to start the season, literally double the amount of wins they had last year. So at number 5, I've got the UTEP Miners. So team in El Paso that struggled the last couple of years. A team coming off a 3-5 season in conference, 5-7 overall. It's not a terrible record, but they start off the season against a bowl team in New Mexico and then at Texas after that. So and then they get right into the heart of the conference against Southern Miss and then at Louisiana Tech. So it's their schedule. The beginning of their schedule is not doing them any favors, but if they can get through that, it could be a promising season. So at number 4, I've got the UTSA Roadrunners, a team coming off a 3-9 season. Starts off with Alabama State, then at Colorado State. So again, if these guys can get a 2-0 start, which at Colorado State's not going to be easy, but it is a winnable game, then could build momentum into an Arizona State game. They get it home, and then I don't know, a massive upset there would give them some respect. But again, that'd be really hard to do. So move on to number 3, and I got the Rice Owls. And a team that was just ravaged by injuries last year. If they can stay a little bit healthier this year, they should be able to be a bowl team. Finishing the year at 5-7 still. They start out at Western Kentucky, so they do get the number 1 team in the conference from last year on the road to start, and then they play Baylor 2 weeks later. So the beginning of their schedule is not doing them any favors either. But after that, it's pretty easy slide until the end of the season at Stanford. Again, another tough game. So number 2, I got Louisiana Tech, a team that loses a lot of their offense in Jeff Driscoll and Kenneth Dixon. I believe they have Jared Wright as the next in line to start. This is a team that has an extremely tough out-of-conference schedule, playing 3 Power 5 teams, 2 of which on the road, at Arkansas, then South Carolina at home, and then at Texas Tech. So they do get a tough test out of conference. Maybe it'll help them with the lower play in conference. So at number 1, I got the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, a team that is far and away the favorite, I believe, to win this division. They bring back one of the best quarterbacks in the conference in Nick Mullens. It's a team that went 9-5 last year, 7-1 in conference. Did not lose a conference game until Western Kentucky in the conference championship. They have some winnable games out of conference at Kentucky to start the season, so they could get a good start there. But then they do play at LSU about halfway through the season. And then pretty manageable in conference schedule. But anyway, move on to the East Division. And start off, I got at number 7, the Charlotte 49ers, a team that just moved up to FBS 2 years ago and has not been great so far. And I think it could be tough sledding this year as well. A team that had 2 wins last year but went 0-8 in the conference again. A team that I think will be at the bottom of the Conference USA once again. So move on to my number 6 team, and I've got the Old Dominion Monarchs, team that actually plays a pretty interesting out-of-conference schedule at NC State and at Appalachian State. 2 tough tests against Appalachian State, an up-and-coming team, and then at NC State, a Power 5 team. But in conference, they have it pretty good. Aside from the game at Western Kentucky, it's a pretty favorable schedule. And look out for this team to kind of make a push to make a bowl game this year, maybe get in the upper half of the East Division. So at number 5, I've got the Florida Atlantic Owls, I believe. Yes, the Owls. So a team that went 3-9 last year that returns, I believe, 16 starters. So a team that could be vastly improved this year. They start out tough. They get Southern Illinois at home, so that one should be a win. But after that, they go to Miami, then to Kansas State, probably 2 losses, in all honesty. And then after that, they get Ball State at home, at FIU. If they can clear out that point up to at Marshall, this could be a bowl team this year, again, a dramatically improved team. So at number 4, I've got the Florida International Panthers, I believe. And then FIU, Golden Panthers, that's right. So they start off the season tough against 2 Power 5 teams, Indiana and Maryland. Then they go to UMass to play the former MAC team. UCF at home, and then they move into their conference schedule. Again, pretty manageable conference schedule outside of at Western Kentucky. This is a team that I could see making a push to make a bowl game this year and probably will end up making one. So at number 3, I've got the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. So a team that's been one of the more consistent teams in the Conference USA over the last couple years. Easy out of conference schedule, or Alabama and A&M at home, and then they get an opportunity against one of the lower Power 5 teams at Vanderbilt. Again, another manageable conference schedule. They get Western Kentucky at home, so that will help, but their toughest game is at Mizzou about halfway through the year. So move on to number 2, and I got the Marshall Thundering Herd, a team that it has been fantastic ever since 3-4 years ago, the Rakeem Cato days, and I don't see them really slowing down this year. Probably looking at a 2-2 record out of conference. They get Morgan State, Akron at home, Louisville at home, and then at Pitt, and then a manageable in-conference schedule after that. A team that definitely should be able to compete for a conference title. And then at number 1, I have the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, former conference champion. They do lose Brandon Doughty, but they do bring back maybe the best receiver in the conference in Taywan Taylor. A guy that probably didn't get enough credit because of Brandon Doughty last year. Probably the favorite to repeat in the Conference USA. Manageable in-conference schedule at Louisiana Tech and then at Marshall are the hardest games. But then they also have an out-of-conference game at Alabama, so probably not going to go undefeated this year. But anyway, move into my conference title game preview. So I think that it actually is going to be Southern Miss this year. I think they have the better quarterback, actually the best quarterback in the conference with Nick Mullens. They return more than Western Kentucky does, and were very close to beating Western Kentucky in the championship last year. Well, actually, was it like I got to see what that game was. The game itself wasn't that close, 48-25, but or 45-28. But again, I think it's a team that has a chance to be able to get that conference title this year with the Western Kentucky offense is probably going to slow down a little bit. So moving to my conference awards, I think my Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Nick Mullens. I already explained why I think he could. Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Ricks, linebacker at Old Dominion, over 100 tackles last year, led the conference in that department. An absolute stud at linebacker for Old Dominion. Newcomer of the Year, Jaquan Yulee. If you've not heard the name, probably don't pay very close attention to recruiting, but a guy that was a hot commodity between Power 5 teams and a few Group of 5 teams up in the Northeast region, and ended up committing to Marshall and should be a force to be reckoned with, best signee in the conference for Conference USA. Dark Horse is the North Texas Mean Green. Like I said, this is a team that just had an unfortunate season last year. It seemed like all the bad breaks went against them. They bring in an entire new coaching staff, an experienced backfield, and a team that, again, in a thin Conference USA, especially the Conference USA West Division, it's especially thin there. A team that could really take control and take over that bottom half of the division, maybe get themselves in a bowl game. My disappointment's probably going to be the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. Bowl team last year, and there's a couple teams in FIU and FAU in the East that are ready to take claim as upper half teams in the division and just in the conference as a whole. And Middle Tennessee State, bringing back, I think, 13 starters, could be a tough season for them since the out-of-conference schedule is a little bit lean before they get into the conference, and it might be tough. But anyway, that concludes my Conference USA predictions for 2016. I'll be coming back probably later this week, start my team previews. This does conclude my conference previews. And then definitely check all those out. I'll put the link to all my conference previews in the description below. That's pretty much it. See ya.